I'll call the meeting to order. Everyone had a chance to review the minutes. I don't know if we would approve them for our board now.
No, because we can't do any motions or.
No, we don't. Y'all want to do a report? We can hear. Oh, you want to go first? So
I'll just,
You gotta go.
I went over mine at the regular meeting, but our next meeting is, September the 12th at 6 o'clock. I'm hoping that meeting will have our final numbers for our pool season, see how we did with it. And, I guess the main thing is they let us know at our last meeting that the park is supposed to be open by October the 10th. I think was the date they said, yes. And,
Equipment looks really good.
yeah, I went down there today. I was off there and I went
Me
down there and
too.
walked around. It does look really good.
Yeah.
And the whole park really looks, I mean, they do a good job. It looks good. People walking the track all the time. That's about all I got on mine.
Okay. Okay, okay.
So,
we
I'm hoping,
It's okay.
Sorry.
We have not had a meeting and we don't have one scheduled at this time, and I can actually speak, I'm on part of building. We have not had a meeting on building either, and to my knowledge, we don't have one scheduled at this time either
Okay.
on those two.
David?
I'm hoping to finally get burn permit and blasting permit out of committee. We finally have gotten language put together for the burn permit. The main thing came down to the enforcement of both of those. I mean, I was looking through what the state has passed this year, you know, for the counties and whatnot. And I mean, one of the requirements for counties now is subcommittee meetings and committee meetings. They all have to have a 48-hour window now to post your agendas before your meeting. Gotta be 48 hours before. I asked Amy about it and she's like, yeah, well, what's the penalty for it? There is no penalty. Landon brought that up when the blasting permit was there, you know, so what's your penalty? Don't have a penalty, so what we came up with in the last two meetings has been, to ticket them and let Kenny decide what fine they need to, whether it's a first, second, or third offense on the blasting or on a burn permit. If there's any other damage that was caused, then they're responsible for the damage of their open burn.
Ticket from who? Rosalie's office?
No, and that's the sheriff.
Sheriff's Department.
So, yeah, it would have to come from the sheriff's department. But I mean, if the fire department shows up for the call and they don't have a permit, then they call a sheriff deputy out there to ticket them. That's what came out of committee. Other than that, we don't really have an enforcement there. I mean, and so I really don't know what else to do with this burn permit thing. I mean, by all means, any advice or any suggestions would be greatly, but the fire chief wants this put in place. At one point, it was in place. They lost the verbiage. Don't have a written copy of it anywhere. And so he's wanting to put this in its place. And it really comes down to, he's not wanting to have open fires of limbs and brush and whatnot because of the density of the population in the urban district. And this permit is only for the urban district. And he doesn't want to have the contractors throwing their waste in the front yard and setting it on fire like they do. He's wanting to stop both of those from happening.
I mean, I live in urban, and I've
Yeah.
called City Hall over the years, and they said, they called forestry, and they said, you ain't gotta have a permit in the city, so they don't, urban, forestry always told me.
That's because there's no verbiage there.
Contradicting.
In 93, it shows where a motion was passed and it was adopted, but they don't have they can't find any copy of what the permit, required.
Seems like to me that you almost would have to put out a new whole start from scratch like you're
Yeah.
doing. And put it out, who's gonna enforce it, whose responsibility does it fall under? I mean, it's gonna be an ordeal, but
That might be something sheriff, and they know.
Yeah.
And then- yeah, and that's gonna be another step
Same.
added to them, so.
If we find that point, I mean, the lot, Julie used to have the powers to do, right, lead citation or something like that.
Yeah, Rosalie, I mean, well, that that position that she's filling has that.
The
authority.
building inspector does have
Yeah,
the,
there-
the authority to do that,
That's,
but
that's, what I was thinking, I mean, I don't, law enforcement, wouldn't-
Well, when you're dealing with fire though, I mean,
State fire marshal would have some. something to do with that.
looks like
Well-
forestry, I mean,
Mhm.
so the way the forestry does it is they just, they just write you a fine for not having the permit.
but I mean, like I said, they tell, look, I'll call, cause I burn leaves in the fall, and I call,
Yeah.
look, and I've always called City Hall, and they said, well, I don't think you gotta have one, I call forestry, and they said, you don't, because of the emergency, I mean, it's city.
It's always good to let the.
That's what I'm saying, I always call them, know,
Yeah.
I mean, it-
yeah, cause I mean, if it were to get out of hand, you would, at least they would be
And-
forewarned of it.
The fire chief brought this to us. I'm trying to do my due diligence to present something with an honest and
No.
good faith. I personally, I don't know if I'd even vote for it. But I understand what he's trying to do and like I said, I'm trying to with all, I'm not trying to snowball this or anything. I'm just trying to.
Have we looked at what other, like some other counties maybe have
Rick
done it?
Gregory did that and that's,
Okay.
we kind of put this together and we've kind of took what he brought to us and kind of structured it the way that it looks a little better. It takes, because there was a little bit of confusion on what an open burn was.
Right,
Because there's a line, there's a couple of sections in here. And the way they originally brought it to us is that, you shall not burn without a permit. And then here's all the exceptions to that statement. Like, no, we can't do that. The
Mm-mm.
commissioner will read the first statement and no one will read the rest of the ordinance.
Exactly.
And then they'll throw a fit, throw us over each government. And I said, no, we're not doing that. We're not wasting anyone's time. Let's go back and do this. And so we've started out with the definition of what open burn is going to be. And then, okay, here's what you can do. All right, now here's what you can't do. Here's what you have to have a permit with, and then here's what you just can't do at all. And you can't burn garbage in your front yard or on your property. That's state, federal laws. And we're just bringing that into the permit.
Right,
You can't burn, flammables and combustibles. All your contractor waste can't be burned in your front yard, just in a pile. So that's put in there. You gotta have a permit to burn your leaves, your brush, trees and whatnot. But if you have a fire pit or a barbecue or an outdoor fireplace, you can burn without a permit. Because that's not considered an open burn.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much, that's the permit. That's the nut of what we've come up with. Of course, it says, if it's gonna be a nuisance, you can't do it. But then again, after my trip out to Seattle, I heard a story that I never thought I'd hear. The driver that was, our Uber driver was telling us about how he likes to smoke salmon. And he'll do quite a bit at one time. And he's had the cops called him out there 3 times because his neighbor's a vegetarian next door, and she says that the smoke offends her. Well, but when you put that, when you put that language, now you're
Yeah.
opening us up to that same
So-
aggravation by a neighbor who's just, yeah. Cause I mean, there's a nuisance and then there's an aggravation. Right. And one person's nuisance can be another person's aggravation. So I don't know about that. As I said,
I think you just kind of have to continue in the route that you guys are going and, just put it out there and then I'm sure there'll be things that'll need to be tweaked or
Yeah.
added or
yeah, at this point,
crossed out, however,
I just want to get it out of my committee.
right, right.
I'm just tired of looking at it.
Okay, what you got?
Got nothing. Ray could stay healthy for a week, we could probably get a meeting together. It's having a rough year.
It's just one thing after another. You've got a rough, everything worried about now. They're coming out of COVID. You can-
Well, while we have a quick minute to talk, with buildings, has anything been discussed on Rita's old office? I know at one point it was discussed about taking the codes and zoning and moving it over to both of
It
those.
hasn't been discussed, but,
I mean, that room's sitting there and
I thought it was discussed at one time, maybe even doing like an opening
yeah, and
to,
opening it up, so you had an office, a private office and then a common.
Right.
For
I think
storage.
she's been so busy lately, she ain't no time for that.
Well, I was in her office the other day talking to her, and I got to looking back into the back office there where they kind of keep the record. She's got a stack, I kid you not, it's this high of plats.
Mhm.
She's got no storage, no, I mean, she's just stacking stuff now. I mean, we've got to do something for that office.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, so.
Make a note and let Lonnie know we need to set a schedule and maybe something.
Yeah. Cause that department's kind of been neglected over the last year. You know, I'd really like to, as I'm the chairman over that office, I'd kind of like to see that at least some address and some direction, so we can kind of figure out. Have we come, now that we've got the budget passed and the director position is put back in the budget, any thoughts on reaching out and trying to find candidates?
We're going to, talk to Mr. Gregory.
Okay.
And, Rod Bowen, we kind of get an idea of how we did that. I told Randy last week, I said, keep that in front of me next week, so.
I found the Tennessee Association of Planners has a section on theirs for posting jobs and whatnot, so I forwarded that to her to get to you. Just trying maybe looking outside the county. The lady you described from Smith County, I'd love to get a hold of someone like that. Just somebody who, yeah, because that's all I hear about is, well, y'all keep talking about all this new stuff, but what are you doing for the existing laws that are on the books?
Mhm.
Well,
You know, we
it
broke,
takes time to do that.
we broke the fire marshal up here on the building downtown with plastic roof. And,
Plastic roof.
Yeah, they were scheduling.
Oh,
Great.
yeah.
And, they kind of turned down and went back to Nashville and said, there's some residential in there, it's a county problem in the state, so. They wouldn't touch it. They wouldn't touch it.
That shows you how bad it is.
But we did get a brownfield grant for $20,000 with no match to investigate properties. So I'm gonna meet with Mr. Compton and see if we would allow them to tell them what could be done for the building. Then there's another grant that even would help private individuals fix it, you know, from the building. So I'm gonna need to get it, see what that does. Cause it needs to do. So it's going back to the ground.
Yep.
People was getting in there, it's not gonna be, won't be long.
History shows, once a group of them gets in there, they'll burn it down within a year or two.
Maybe the sheriff got in there. So, you know, said you don't even want it. You don't even know what it looks like.
Yeah, it's been 2 years since I've been in there. It's rough, yeah. Rough.
Anything else, y'all? Don't get no hearing this time. We're negotiating the fish property tax in jail. Trying to get a contract.
How big is that property? 5 acres?
No.
No.
1.77.
I was gonna say 1.9.
Yeah, it's a little bit, you can make it. We'll be looking at maybe. Another property around there that gives no parking, but, and, that's good. That's like. Looks nice. We're, they can serve the.
Yeah, but how many beds? I mean,
Or if you go before, you can get out. Parking's gonna be the issue. And have whether or not you have floor or not there. And they said it's the same time. That, but we're gonna help some other ones on this. I think it's some food. And so, first thing when we do about that. And
Yeah, because the prison folk that are coming in here, what, every 2 months now, they're not let them report them anymore. In the home themselves.
I heard them messed that up last week. Didn't
Yeah, so we're gotta leave on the vans. The last time we were there, we had 9 vans in the parking lot. It's 7 years.
they? That was last week booking.
No, we only put 2 out of that.
Okay.
Time before we put 30.
That, was that the day I came and watched you looking?
No, there was another one, there was another 30.
so where are all these people just surrounding counties or?
Yeah, most of them are coming out of Bruce. A lot of them coming out straight out of Trouser.
So just coming out of Turner? So we just ship them back to Turner?
We did, we did statewide, last
Some would
Monday.
go back and some might have to go depending on the charges
They
elsewhere.
go all over the
Most of,
place.
most of them would probably go back. And the booking process is, it's a process.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
It's not an easy process.
Any
It
chance
takes,
that
it takes a bit.
Turner's got room to set up a courtroom right there on their property and just do a day of a rain. Just a
I
thought,
wouldn't do it, but
Just sit down and see what you do.
mm-mm.
because that would cut down some of our costs.
I do know something that we do need to do is somehow is we need to meet with them. Either bring back that prison oversight committee. Cause I know we're all getting lots of calls and stuff and questions in regards to it, and that way it would just give us some insight
I keep
to be able to
asking-
answer them.
I keep asking, like, it's hard numbers, so when we go back and go check it, time to go.
We got.
I was thinking say Shane second story,
You got the
but
numbers?
they are there.
It's costing, I'm saying.
Cause I even told Shane, I said, hey, I'll build you an Excel spreadsheet. He says, no, we've already got it.
I don't have anything else, John. We need to get no people, we can make meetings. Thank you, Tony.